Alright guys, welcome back to your 13th tutorial. So in the previous one I told you about the home screen and the how to play screen, right? So in this one let me tell you how to actually make that board, right? The board which will actually play the game. So let's go ahead and see what our output is going to look like. So that's what the board looks like. It's a 10 by 10 board with 5 ladders, 5 snakes, 1 pointer, default location is 1, and the controls on the right hand side, right? So as I already said, it's better to plot the board in a on a real graph and take down the coordinates before actually starting working on it. So all these things right here. So only one thing is new, that is the set viewport. Now what our code requires is that with every encounter of a die we need to refresh the board, right? With every new number we need to move the pointer and we'll need to refresh the board. So what set viewport basically does is it sets the area which is going to be refreshed, right? So our board starts from 10 10 and it goes to 200 200. So we basically select that much area for refreshing. So there's another function which refreshes it. We'll get to it after a while, right? So here's the code which we wrote for making the checkerboard, right? So basically it was my sir who wrote this and the numbers thing. So we'll start from 10. Right, counter 1 will put it as 10. So 10 10 is our default location, which is counter 1 and counter 2. X1 X2 is 0. So what set viewport basically does is it treats 0 0 as 10 10, right? As per its own dimensions, it works on its own dimensions, right? So we have made 40 by 40 squares, right? So we'll start from for the 0 0 thing and we'll increment 40 every time, right? There we go, we'll increment 40 every time. And thus this will make the box, right, a 10 by 10 box. Or else you can go ahead and you can create so many lines, which is a very hectic process, right? There's another function here called rectangle, again x1 y1 x2 y2. That's how we made the 10 by 10, that's 100 rectangles. So either you can sit and you can make 100, you can put in 100 coordinates, or else you can make a loop for it, right? That's where loop comes in, right? We have to repeat one particular thing many times. So we'll increment the values by 40 every time and we'll take this to 10 times, right? Counter 2 is 10, so counter 2 minus minus will take it from 10 9 8 7 6 5 4 3 2 1. So this code will run till counter 2 reaches 0. So basically this will run 10 times, so it will print 10 rectangles. Again counter 1 will run from 1 to 10 and each time it will print 10 rectangles, so that makes 100 rectangles, right? All right, so that was for the board. Now again, easy ways to just write the numbers 1 2 3 4 by different out text xy statements, because you will not get the loop right now. Okay, but still I'll give it a try. For left to right, what we basically did is we increased the thing by 40 40 and we started from the middle, right? X1 plus x2 by 2 and y1 plus y2 by 2. So we displayed all the numbers starting from the middle of the first box to the end or to the middle of the last box, right? And since the size of the box is 40 by 40, so obviously the location needs to be, the coordinates need to be incremented by 40 on everything. Again this runs 10 times, right? And again this runs 5 times, because uh, if you look at the board properly, 5 times we have to start from 1 on the left hand side, right? Like 1 11 and all. And the let me show you, right? So as you can see in the first one, it starts from 1 to 10, then it goes from 11 right above 10, not from the not 11 is not above 1, right? It should be above 10. So that's what we do. We made two different loops for that. One loop prints 1 21 41 61 81 and that line, and the second loop prints 20 40 60 80 100, that particular line, right? So this loop here which says left to right is basically for printing the 1 21 41 thing. and the right to left thing is for printing 11, 31, 51, and that part, right? There's no difference between these two loops, just the value is, you know, if in the first case we incremented by 40, in this case we'll decrement by 40 because we have to move in the opposite direction, right? Again, to insert file adders, what you can do is you can just go ahead and make 5 different lines, right? 2 vertical and 3 horizontal lines, or else you can go ahead and try it using a loop. In just increment the values of the horizontal lines, because you can draw vertical lines manually, and you can use, because you have to make 3 horizontal lines, so you can go ahead and you can try loop for that. Just we have just decremented it by the values, so that we start from the first one, then we come down the second line, then we again come down in the third line, right? Or else you can just go ahead and you can write 3 different line statements. Then again, snake includes 2 arcs, just like the one we made in the previous home screen, right? So that's basically all in this code: snake 3, snake 4, snake 5, ladder 2, 3, 4, 5. That's what I said. It's easy for us to actually write 5 ladder statements then using that loop, because again we'll have to write 5 different loops because the location of ladders is random, right? Again, to display the controls, we'll use outtext XY. The controls are on the right hand side of the screen. Now the player is basically pi slice. Pi slice is basically a circle, a filled circle, right? So that's the location, coordinates x1, x2, y1, y2, and the radius. Get ch is for this, and close graph is to close the graph which we started using init graph, right? So initializing the graph and closing the graph. So that's how we actually made that box, the board, the actual game board, right? So now let's go ahead and I'll show you the final project which we actually submitted, right? So as you can see, there are two different files. The first one is dos.h and the second one is stdlib.h. Now dos.h is basically for using the time function for the delay functions, right? So we played Saregama in the beginning, right? So that's what the dos.h is for, and this stands for standard library. I'll show you what it is for, right? So again, as I said, we just copied all the codes which I showed you till now into separate functions. So the first function, right, as you can see here, we have 1 2 3 4 5 6 functions, right? So the first function is for the Saregamapa thing, the second is for the home, the third is how to play, the fourth is board, and the fifth one is for random number generation, and the sixth one is for the final screen where we actually take the input, right? So let me show you one by one. The sound function. Now what this particular is the frequency. So what we did is we googled up the frequency of Saregamapa and we just used it, right? The delay which is defined is dos.h is basically for making that particular sound run for 500 milliseconds, all right? So that's what it's for, and every sound needs to be stopped by the no sound function, right? Or else it will keep on playing it. So then this I showed you already for snakes and ladders, then instruction display function, then the board function, everything is the same. Just to make it a bit more easy for us, we use different programs to first make all the components, and then we combined everything into one code, right? Now the die should generate a random number every time, right? So for in C++ there's another a function called randomize. So this is available in stdlib.h. What it does is it generates a random number between the range which you give it, right? So that's the range. I should start from 0 and it will be till 6, right? So this is basically the syntax of the random function. You can just go ahead and help and check. I'll show you random, right? See, it's available in stdlib.h. The two functions, random and randomize. Randomize basically generates the number and random is used to set the range, right? Right. So random returns a random number between 0 and num minus 1. So that's what it does. So between, we'll need the range between 6 and 1 and 6. So what we did is 1 and num minus 1. All right. So that's what the random function works like. Okay, then we'll be returning this value to the main function. So since we are going to return an integer value, we have declared the return type of this function as int, right? Now function for taking the input. There are two options, right? Space for rolling the die and E for exit, right? So again we'll start the a while loop, because the for loop will not work in this case. So we'll use a while loop if the input is not equal to E or E, just to make it a bit more user friendly, because I don't know that I should press shift and E, or caps lock and E. My code does not know whether the user is going to enter capital E or small e, right? So whichever E, until and unless the user enters E, it will keep on running this. So what we'll do is we'll uh, set the value of input as get character. All right. So a get che is for one particular character. All right. So if the input is space, we'll just call a random number generator function. We'll store a random number and we'll print that particular number on the screen, right? So we'll say the die shows and that particular number. This is for converting this into a string, right? Because outTextXY works only with strings, so we'll need to convert a number into a string, right? So that's how we do it. We take one string and we store our number in that string. All right. So again, we'll use outTextXY and we'll show the die shows and that a number which we took, the random number which is generated just now, right? We'll delay it for a few times so that you get the feel of the random number being actually generated. All right. Else, if the input is E, we'll take it to the another screen and we'll use clear device. So it will basically clear that particular viewport and it will take us to another screen where we'll print, are you sure you want to quit? With two choices, yes or no. Again, if the choice is yes, we'll exit the program by using the exit function. Exit 0 basically quits the code and comes out of the program. And if the choice is N or N, we'll just ask them to press any key to continue. So if they press any key, then we'll just go ahead and we'll call our board back again, right? So that's how this code will work. Now again, this is as simple as my main code looks. All right, I don't need to call it every time, right? So what this is the basic graphic syntax which we need, right? So what else do we have here? We just have the home function first. After that we have the how to play function. After that we have the board function. Just three functions, because the random number generator and everything else is taken care of in the board function already. All right. So as I said, keep the code of main as simple as possible. So that's as simple as it can possibly be, right? So that's what the game basically looks like. That's how it is made. I just it's not possible for me to write this long code and guide you through the everything. So that's the best way I found to teach you this particular thing. I guided you through the entire process. Let's just go ahead and try it out one final time. There we go. Yes, spacebar to roll the die. Let's hit space. The die shows 3. There we get a pointer on 3. All right, again the die shows 6. 6 plus is 9, so there we get it on 9, right? E to exit. If I press N, it will just ask me to press any key and it will take me back to the board. Again, if I press Y, it will take me out of the game. Alright, so that's what Snakes and Ladders actually is. That's how you can make it.